Okay, I say we go ahead and get started, and then if any stragglers come in, that's great. Thank you all for coming. I know it's a little bit late on a weeknight, so I really appreciate it. This is a session to learn a little bit more about the Washington Semester Program. If you're coming in with very little information, this is a program that's part of American University, and we bring students from all around the country and all around the world to Washington, D.C. every semester to take immersive seminars here that let you explore the city and to work, hopefully, a really unique DC internship that can help get students' foot in the door of a career that they'd like later on. My name's Julia, and I'm a program coordinator for WSP, and we're joined today by one of our current spring students, David Leal. David goes to University of Hartford and studies politics, government, and international studies, and is currently an intern for Senator Richard Blumenthal. Sorry, I tripped over that. But so we're basically going to go straight in with some questions for David, but before we officially start, I just want to say, if you have any questions while David is talking about how his experiences, please feel free to put them in the chat and we can address them at the end. Or at the end, you could just, raise your hand and start talking to ask either him questions about the program or me questions about admissions and other elements of the program. So let's go ahead and get started. David, there are a lot of different abroad programs and Washington, D.C. programs that students can take advantage of from their home universities. So why did you choose the Washington Semester Program in particular?
Yeah, great question, Julia. So I chose the Washington Semester Program because I believed I could get the best of a whole bunch of worlds. So just getting that experience in the classroom at a prestigious university from top-notch professors and not just any classes, just these really great seminars, which I'll go into later, as well as just getting an internship in Washington, D.C., really the epicenter of politics in the United States, as well as just getting a sense of just urban living and just life in the city. And I'm not exaggerating here. This is like the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. So just with all the three, and I really credit this program, and I'm very thankful for all of that.
Well, that's
And then that's kind of, and well, that's a little, and it was a little bit of those three things is kind of why I chose this program. Um,
Yeah, that's great to hear that. First of all, that's the most fun you're having in your life. That's amazing. I think that's probably what all of us staff members want for our students. But that's exactly right. I think of it as kind of a holistic experience because you're still a student and we kind of still want to nurture that part of you in your studies. But it's really just a great opportunity to start working and doing something you're interested in, which takes us to kind of our first specific question. The internship is such a big part of the program. In the spring and fall, students typically work it part-time, 3 days a week. In the summer, it's a little bit more focused on the internship. You work it 4 days out of the week for more of a full-time schedule. And one of the great benefits of our program is that you receive a lot of different internship support services as you're finding your placement. So that includes internship coaches that our students work with, different opportunities to meet DC employers, an internship database that has a lot of curated opportunities here in the DC area. So there are often a lot of different ways that students find their internships. It could be even family or friend connections and things like that. So if you wouldn't mind, could you talk a little bit about what your experience was like landing an internship in this program?
Yeah, so there are incredible there's an incredible internship coach in Karen Carter, who really you can as once you get accepted, you can start instantly getting one-on-one coaching with her, and she is excellent. She'll give you tips on your resume, your cover letter. It can be initially daunting at first, and it'd be a little scary, like, oh my gosh, there's like I have to do this. I'm going to a city that I don't know about, but I promise you, if you work hard and you stay motivated, you can get an internship. And what I did for my tip is I made a giant spreadsheet of deadlines, of the name of the internship, of important details I want to keep of, whether or not I need letters of recommendation, or and whatnot. And I scored this internship by really just pulling some strings that I knew from previous. I had a previous internship and that I had, and I was able to pull a string that I used from networking from there. But don't worry if you don't have a previous internship. That's definitely not a requirement to be in this program. Definitely reach out to people in your homeschools, of your own homeschool programs, if they have a career center, um, as well, and also just certain alumni and at your homeschool, in addition to yeah, alumni as well as just professors may help you out as well. So I just really just telling people and just being open and just open to help, and that's just really helped me.
Great. You touched on a lot of different important things there. First of all, you're right, Karen. It can be a little bit intimidating with working with new people and trying to do something, that hopefully you're going to get a lot out of. Karen is definitely the firm but kind of coach who's going to push you to be your best and try to send out as many applications as you can and support you as much as possible. And you're totally correct. A lot of our students will come in having networked before, like you, and come in with some sorts of connections related to their state politics or something like that. Other students come in with no internship experience at all, no connections in DC, nothing of that sort, and everyone is able to kind of find something that they like. So thank you for sharing that. And to get a little bit more into the weeds of the work you do, how would you describe your job in the Senate, and what would you say you're learning from your internship experience?
Yeah, so it's great. So my title is just an intern. And it's nice because I get a little bit of just the legislative, I get a little bit working with the press. So I get just the best of a lot of different worlds while I'm working in there. And I get to respond to a lot of constituent phone calls and just sorting through a lot of messages. Um, as well as just going to just a lot of these hearing rooms are just incredible, just watching those and being able to do research, having access to a lot of like Library of Congress in DC and just getting able to do that and just writing like a lot of policy and legislative memos, and that sort of thing. So with my internship in specific, and just the matter of just the whole thing, I want to go into public service and just being able to get into contact with so many just different people from like my office who have just different policy areas and just different backgrounds is has honestly just been incredible. So at like a typical week for me, I'll try and book like a coffee or something with like a staffer, do my and then I'll sometimes have like a capital tour I might give out. And then I just try and just look around and just see what information I can get. And obviously there as an intern you might have some redundant work I would do, but I would just say advocate for yourself and always just like show some initiative to maybe get some cool different projects because I've done that and it's been interesting. You're able to be and connect with a whole bunch of people you just want to know that way.
Yeah, that's so it's nice that you're getting to know like people on all different levels of your office. How many other interns are there with Senator Blumenthal?
Yeah, so we'll typically in a typical intern cohort have about 7 to 10. And in an office there sometimes be around like I or like 6, 7, I think is like around the average in a Senate office. Um and 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 again it varies. On like Capitol Hill there's also committees you can internship for. There's also the whole House side. So there's many different opportunities on Capitol Hill to work, but if not in Capitol, a lot of just different like think tanks as well as lobbying and other associations you can work for as well. So definitely a lot of just opportunities there.
Yeah, definitely in anyone's area of interest. I know we have some students doing kind of not non-traditional, but like non-government political internships, but Capitol Hill definitely seems to be our most popular. We have about 10 students doing that right now. So has there been, I imagine it can be a little bit surreal at first working in such an environment with maybe kind of famous people around and doing kind of hefty work for your home state, which is amazing. Has there been one sort of standout moment in your few months here during your internship or one particular lesson that you've taken away from it so far?
Um, Lesson, I would say just I feel like I've just grown up as a person a lot in this program. Just definitely just like living in an apartment and that sort of thing, which I'll go into a little bit as well. And but like specific to my internship, real unforgettable moment. Just like it's just also just a lot of the writing. Um, it's very humbling. Sometimes some feedback I've gotten, but it really helps you learn. And just again, just having access to the resources like the Library of Congress is an incredible building, and I'll just never forget like the awe and just the beauty of that too. So a lot of the writing and and as well and yeah, and like the building, it's just again a very humbling, and it just I feel like it's been very helpful for my own personal development as well. So I'll just credit that.
Great. No, it's so cool that they're giving you the responsibility to write and that you're getting, feedback from people you probably look up to in your field. So thank you so much for that. We're gonna shift gears a little bit away from the internship now and talk about kind of the second big component of our program. I mentioned at the beginning that we have immersive seminars, which are very different from typical classes, which David is about to tell us a little bit about. They're based in these different site visits all around DC, and around guest speakers that professors bring to class to talk about relevant topics. So in your words, how would you say these seminars are different from a normal class for you? And if you don't mind, if you could just say which seminars you're enrolled in. Our students are typically enrolled in two.
Yes, so I am current. So the reason I am here and my apartment is I am taking an elective. So I'm enrolled in three seminars. So I'm enrolled in U.S. political institutions, national conversations in times of crisis, and my elective that I just had is U.S. public policy. And a seminar is different than a typical like classroom lecture. Instead of a professor kind of blabbering at you and you sitting at your desk for like 2, 3 times a week, you'll typically have um might take up the full day, might take up a little half, but you might have a professor be like, okay, let's meet at this museum. We're going to check out this. I want you to fully check out this exhibit or this location, which is relevant for class. And then we'll have a little break, get lunch, pick up your things, and then you'll go to class. And sometimes we'll have a guest speaker. Um, that might sometimes this guest speaker might be the author of the book that the professor had us read for class. And the professor and the guests are really experts in their field. They're called professors, they're former lobbyists, they're former members of Congress. I've had two former, and it's just like just crazy to think about. And you get to learn so much. Really just bust a lot of myths that I've had as well. And I've just gotten such like a plethora of knowledge from just actually being in these places. Um, Next week alone, we have a site visit to the Supreme Court and the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative think tank. Um, and also, I would say that they do a great job as well, the professors, of just making sure what you see is balanced. So, for example, we might have our public policy class will have we watch like a film that represents one view, and our speaker will have the opposite view. So we get to get a more informed opinion of what we see.
I don't know why. I thought it was so cool when I found out that the seminars are more than just even like one guest speaker necessarily at a time. Like there are so many different components to your day. And my next question was actually going to be, what's a day like in a seminar? And you already touched on that, which is amazing. That you are hearing from so many different kinds of perspectives and you're doing so much to back up the more academic work that you're doing in the class, which is great. You just mentioned two site visits that you have coming up. Has there been a past site visit or guest speaker that you were especially fond of, that really like excited you and you enjoyed hearing from, or something else coming up in the future that you're really looking forward to?
Wow, for our US public policy class, we have a lot of lobbyists from certain industries that will come in and talk. And it's been interesting to hear their conversations with members of Congress, and as well as just what they represent and kind of what they do. Just a lot of like myth busting and a lot of just a part of just education that there is. And I would say just for like site visits that we've done, again to the US Capitol building, they're trying to the White House for some classes. We've had two newspapers, the National Archives. We've had to monuments, memorials, and museums in Washington, D.C. So So you really get so if you're worried about, hey, I have class and whatnot too, I'm gonna be able to explore the city. These seminars, they really integrate a lot of like the city's kind of like sites within the curriculum in a very educational way.
Yeah, they definitely try to make sure that you're kind of hitting every single important institution in DC while you're here, or at least related to the work that you're doing. I can't believe you're taking 3 seminars. I hope that's not too big a course load for you in addition
Yeah,
to your internship. Um, okay, so this is another little shift away from the seminars. Most of our students, when they're here, live in housing that WSP offers. With our partner Turnkey, 2 locations of this are downtown in DC. One is across the border in Bethesda, Maryland. And this is kind of like a dorm experience because you get to live with other WSP students and, from what I understand, other young professionals in the city. But hopefully not that much like a dorm experience, or at least a typical college dorm experience, because they seem like really, really nice apartment buildings, and hopefully have some more amenities, which should be nice. So for you, how has your urban apartment experience been so far?
yeah, it has definitely been on probably the largest learning curve I've had. College from high school to college, you have that one tradition having a lot of freedom. With this, I would say you have a lot more freedom with your seminars, are just one part of your day, and also just traversing just city traffic, and just different types of transportation in the city can be a little difficult. And just adjusting to that. Also, just not having a meal plan. It might have your home schools, and just learning how to cook and just budget has been a huge thing. So making sure you're sticking to that, and just to I don't want to spend more than this. The program does a great job at making sure the housing is near grocery stores and it's just in a walkable places. So your legs are definitely going to be working a lot more than they were at your home university, depending on where you go. But it's great. And if you want to go farther than that, you do get your UPass that you have.
Great. I was going to ask
And
about that.
yeah, and it's great. It's included in your tuition, and you're able to use the excellent metro system in DC, as well as most of the buses to traverse a lot of like the hidden gems in the city. So it's I've just what I've seen has just been uncomparable to like my past 3 semesters at my home school.
It's definitely a big transition, going from, like, I'm from somewhere kind of rural in Kentucky, and then I came to DC for school, and just kind of being in more of an urban environment, but also you're exactly right, figuring out the transportation and like which bus should I take? Is my
Yeah.
iPhone telling me the right thing? Things like that. And I appreciate that you touched on the grocery store point, because you're just like a bunch of our other students who come in straight from dorms and from a dining plan. And it can be a big transition, kind of learning how to cook on your own and learning what you like to cook, what you're able to, what you're not able to. Abraham did one of these sessions last week, and he said his mom said this program is turning him from a boy into a man. So
Yeah.
I guess kind of in that regard, it would be the same. So you mentioned like getting around with the UPass. And it sounds like you've already done probably so many things that were on your DC bucket list just through your classes alone and through the work that you're doing. But I know a lot of students do come in kind of thinking, oh, I have this amount of time here. These are the things that I want to do while I'm in DC. What have you accomplished that was on your DC bucket list, or do you have something coming up that you still hope to do before your time in the program ends?
This coming Sunday, there's a road race that I'm doing that's just 10 miles. I was running just a little bit before I came here, but going down here, I found going on runs. It's just been a great way to explore the city, and just having this road race to look forward to, has been not only a good way to like have a goal to like reach forward and work to, but also a way to just look around to like different parts of like not only DC, but the DMV area. DC has just a lot of really cool running and walking trails, and just running on those and just like having that freedom has been some of my just like favorite memories of just going on runs at like, during the day, early in the morning to see some like incredible sunrises, and at night to see like some sundowns by like the river, by just seeing like the monuments in the background. It's just I'm gonna miss it, and it's just ne and I'll do the run sometimes like same loop around the National Mall like 5 times in a week, and it just won't get old.
Yes, and I feel like you came at such a nice time because we just got through cherry blossom season here, which did you go and see them at the tidal basin?
Yes, the tidal basin, but there's so much more than the tidal basin to go see them at too.
Yeah,
But
that's the nice thing because it does get
yeah,
so crowded.
yeah, so I was
Well,
very lucky.
you kind of got a little bit ahead. So if this is your memory, then it's totally fine. For I was gonna ask what your favorite memory so far was in the program, and yeah, I know you mentioned your running. Has there been any other kind of standout memory in the few months that you've been here from WSP?
Hmm. Yeah, I would just say a lot of my classes. I would just say my national conversations class. I would say we've had one visit to like a part of town I hadn't really part of the city that I hadn't really considered much of, and our my professor for that class is been brought us not only to a monument where we get to talk to someone who is who and without and who connected us to the African American Civil War Memorial and that museum and just learning about that. And they had a guest. I was able to connect this back to something back at home, to each of our home schools and home states that I had like no idea about learning about that. And also just going to a DC local restaurant and learning about that and just bonding with some of my classmates just through after that experience at a restaurant. And I would just say that Friday where I had that national conversations in times of crisis class was just one of my favorite memories, and I like credit that with like a lot of like just bonding with a lot of just people from I wouldn't normally just without this program.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things it sounds like is because it's people from all over the country who you probably wouldn't meet before. And it is kind of, we consider it an abroad program, which I think makes people closer in some ways because of these shared experiences that can always feel so enlightening as you're making it sound from that really nice day that you had. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're almost to basically our final question, and then we'll go into any questions anyone here has for David. Um, how would you say, if you had to kind of sum it up so far, this program has affected you either personally or professionally or both? And I know you've already touched on this a little bit, but
Yeah.
do you have anything else to add?
Yes, I'll add just like professionally, I feel like my communication skills have been a lot more refined. Def and communication, just being a lot more deliberate about what I say, just being a lot more concise instead of rambling and going on. It's really helped me here. And just like personally, just like that apartment style living has been one of my biggest adjustments. So just time management, just making sure you get to things on time and early, still something I'm just working towards, but it's all part of your growth journey down here. And I feel like this program, for better or for worse, has really forced me to like grow up. And I think Abe's mother kind of said that, held that on the nail, really turns you into from a girl or a guy to a stronger man or woman. Really just learning just all the life skills of just budgeting and just cooking and adulting, as my dad would say, just you're just adulting.
Mm-hmm. And then I know that you know, it sounds like already were doing work related to the work that you're doing now when you were back home. Would you say that this has had any effect or influence on your future plans, whether it's saying, oh my gosh, I hate this work, I'm not going to do it, or this is exactly what I want to do, I made the right choice, anything like that?
Yeah, so I love everything about the city. I love having the opportunity to decide, hey, I'm gonna go for this run or that. But professionally, I think I've decided I want to go back to more state and local politics. Um, and I think that knowing that and just knowing what you don't want to do, I think is sometimes just as valuable as knowing what you not want to do. But that definitely just doesn't want to mean I just don't want to come back to the city. And I've definitely seen opportunities and ways I could come back up here. But and there's just so many ways and just opportunities you can explore within your classes to network with other people within your program with guest speakers if you get the chance, and also with your professors. They're very knowledgeable to try and help you even in the program to like look for other opportunities to grow. So That's what I have to say about that.
Well, that's great. I feel like even though DC's, our hub for federal government, you're definitely going to run into a lot of people who are going to be championing local government whenever you talk to them. So that's fantastic that you're learning more about what you want to do. And that was our last question. So I'm actually going to quickly stop my share and go over to this screen to share a little bit of information about some deadlines. Let me share this right now and try to be quick. Okay, so David, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so here are some upcoming deadlines. We did have our summer deadline already passed, but if we're accepting applications on a case-by-case basis, if anyone is interested in still joining for our summer program, if you're interested in coming in the fall, we have a deadline for that coming up relatively soon, May 15th. And then the spring deadlines are going to be later this year. If anyone has questions about the required materials or pricing, the application process, anything like that, then feel free to ask. And then feel free to ask David any questions you have about the program. Or feel free to put anything in the chat if you don't want to say anything.
Yeah, I'll start. My question, David, would probably be when you were making your transition when you first started the program, how would you say both the switchover and then trying to maintain the work life and school balance in a completely new environment regarding all three of the above?
Hmm. Yeah, I would say I was nice because I did get to move in a little earlier down here. So there was like a little bit of a longer orientation. Julia made a really cool scavenger hunt for the program. I was able to bond with some people and just getting and we were able to talk with some folks about some career advice. And again, I had like tips to stay organized as well with my existing Outlook calendar. You do get an american.edu email, so I was able to like throw everything all into one place and just in terms of just managing all three. And really was just like all three, just my personal work stuff, my work and my classes was just having designated times for both and just establishing priorities. So I could just stay on top of things, so I could just manage all three at once, all in the same week, really. Did I really nail that, or is there something else you were looking for?
No, I feel like you got it. It was just, from the personal experience, how did it personally, the switch over and the adjustment, how do you handle it really? But yeah, you
Yeah.
got it. Thank you.
Natalie asked if there are non-political internships. I can start with that and just say there definitely are. I mean, DC is a hub for so many different kinds of industries that this is just a really good place to go. Whether you're interested in, as you can see, like arts and culture, we have, of course, the amazing Smithsonian Institutes if you're interested in history or art, the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts, all different kinds of like education, healthcare, environmental work is really big right now, which I guess is inherently political, but really any sort of like nonprofit too that you could think of will have a home here. I know that one of our current students who was also here last semester worked at a nonprofit that helped teen parents. And now this is when I'll go to David. Do you happen to know off the top of your head any of your friends who are working something kind of non-political?
Yeah, I would just say a lot of just like journalism. I know that's also a little inherently political, but also just a lot of just like media sometimes, a lot of like marketing. Um just non like political, sometimes like maybe in like the business realm, a lot of his businesses in DC. And again, a huge like arts and culture. It's just like the Kennedy Center. Oh, it's already on the screen, but kind of like there's a DC's a city, so like there's a lot of just different industries around here. Yeah, a lot of it is centered around the federal government, but people have other interests. They want to do other stuff in their free time. So if you search hard enough for something and you really kind of do your research, you might be able to find something that suits you.
And if you're interested in kind of a potential list of internships that might be within your field or your major, you can also reach out to me and I'd be happy to share some with you and talk to our internship coaches and see if they've had experiences with people in that field. I'm trying to think of more. We definitely have so many students who do work within their major. There was someone who worked at a company, Women in Film and Video, which they were interested in film and then women's rights, so it really worked out perfectly. Someone worked for the Georgetown Athletics Department and was able to work with, unfortunately, I'm a Georgetown alum, our failing basketball team, but it's still really cool because it's Georgetown basketball. So yeah, feel free to reach out. And this is actually a good time. I'm going to find my contact info that I'll send to everyone. But in the meantime, does anyone else have a question for David or for me? Okay, that might be it. I'll just share this little bit of information. This is my email. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions at all about the program, or if you want me to get you in touch with David again because you have questions for a real student. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer those. We also have links to our Instagram and TikTok, and David and our other student ambassadors do really great videos about a day in a life of an intern in DC or sights and sounds in DC. So if you just kind of want even more of a sense of what the program is like, if you're a visual learner, then I really highly recommend you check those out. Thank you again so much to everyone for coming at 8 p.m. I really appreciate it. And I hope that we can hear from you all soon. And then finally, thank you again to David for being so great and staying in your classroom building. I hope you get home okay. Thank you so much for
Yes,
being
thank you.
around. All right, have a good night,
All
everyone.
right, have a good night. Bye.